since I'm done with my life size Congo, I'll keep myself entertained. So I'm going to build myself an RC hang glider using the parts from a little quadcopter. With that said, this is going to be a relatively short video. So with that also said, the first part I need to do is build the section that's actually going to be holding the motors and electronics together. So I'm going to cut this out, get this thing finalized, and then come back. Alright, I got everything situated with the main power base, or whatever we call this thing. Unlike the other ones I've done in the past, since I'm using the heavier set of foam boards, since I don't got any lighter stuff, I also added in a bit of an elevator to both sides. That way, so it'll be just enough to cause this thing to constantly always want to fly upwards. And that's one of the reasons. And again, due to the weight of this thing, that's one of the reasons why I chose to do that. I still have to go in and add in actual wooden dowels to support the bottom piece here. But I'll do that after I make sure this thing properly flies right, or at least get the whole kite piece figured out. So I'm going to use a simple white trash bag, and I'm going to give a rough estimate on how big the actual hang glider sail needs to be to get this thing to fly right. And of course I have to make sure that it's big enough so it can actually keep this thing flying, because again, this is heavier than normal. But if it's too big, it won't fly at all, and if it's too small, of course it won't fly at all neither. So I'm going to come back when I get the actual kite part of this RC thing up and running, or figured out at least. Alright, I got the form that I believe will work. I went in and added in the main reinforcement bar at the very back, or the very middle, whatever you call it. Normally I'll build these things out of, I'll build this reinforcement rod out of not popsicle sticks, but straws, because I want it to be lightweight. But since this thing since this thing will be bearing most of the load, it's made out of barbecue skewers, so it can actually withstand it and also flex a little bit. But I am going to use straws in this. I'm going to use the straws for this little section, right? For these two sections here. Because for this, I need these parts to actually flex. And also what I'm going to do is I want to get the straws. I'm also going to bring this in by maybe a few degrees like this. That way, so when this thing's flying, it actually has the proper form to actually catch air and actually get it to fly and whatnot. So I'm going to go and try and find some straws around the house, see if I can find some. And I'll come back when I get this whole thing figured out. Or not figured out, but the whole thing put together. Well, I found some straws. I just got to wait for my hot glue gun to heat up. I'm currently doing some of this game and watching this boring event. Yes, I am quite bored with the Apple event. Nothing interesting has happened. It's boring as fuck. And plus the games they showed off, they're running at 30 FPS. There's only one game that ran at 60, and it was a shitty music rhythm game. My stupid V40 is superior to the iPad they used for the demos. My fucking Android phone. Go fuck yourself, Apple. With that said, I'm going to stop ranting about Apple. I'm going to get back to building this thing and watching this boring ass event. And here is the design I came up with. It's fairly simple, but it's also fairly heavy, hence why I added this. It's still too windy to really see how well this thing can fly, but even in the wind, this thing does fly. Just not that well because it gets knocked around. So I'll come back when the wind comes down, and also the quality of the video is going to change because I'm going to be swapping over to my cell phone so I can properly record this thing and control it at the exact same time. Alright, so it's morning, and like I said, I swapped to my iPhone. Not my iPhone, but my Android phone. And this thing flies relatively fine. Not as well as I would like, but it does fly. And the thing turns off. Sheet controller. Unlike the other one I made though, I can just use the throttle stick to get it to turn and fly. But the other one I made previously, I had to use all controls to get it to actually fly properly.
Guess I just go. Blah. Guess I should just go directly to full left. Yeah, it looks like going full left. Full left trim seems to have steered it out. It's not going to the right constantly like it used to. It's still being a bit of a pain in the ass to fly. Well, the one thing I've noticed is that I have to give it full throttle to actually get it to stay up all the time. That's one of the reasons why I don't like using. This is one of the reasons why I don't like using ducted quads, because the efficiency is just not there compared to just using an actual prop quad, which is just normal propeller types. This one's just again using. It's just using a little crummy ducted thing from Air Hogs. So with that said, I'll end the video since you saw the thing fly and whatnot. There's nothing else for me to really talk about.